Alright, in this second video for this designing a brochure in InDesign, I'm going to show you how to make the second page. I will recreate this page right here. It's the inside of the brochure. The last video I showed you how to make the top of the brochure, or the outside of the brochure. So this was the cover, the back cover, and the inside flap. And now I'll show you how to make a layout for the inside of the cover. So as you see, I'm trying to be creative and not just put a picture in a box. I'm putting a little bit of design to it by making the pictures go inside multiple boxes. So we're going to create something called compound paths. And all right, so let's get started. So I'll just go ahead and delete all that and start over. I'm going to press W so I can see the different panels that I'm working on. All right, so first I'm going to draw the boxes where I'm going to have the photos. So I'm going to get a rectangular frame here and just draw a box about that size there. And I'm just going to, for now, I'm going to fill it in with black just so I can see them. And I'm going to copy and paste it and line it up right next to the other one. You can also select both of them and hold down the Option and Shift, and that will make a copy of them as well. So I'm going to make those extra copies there. Okay, so that'll be where I'm going to place the ski picture inside of this. So what I want to do first is group that. So I'm going to select all of them. Actually, I take that back. I don't want to group it. I want to make it a compound path. So I'm not going to be grouping that because that will group it. So you go into Object, Paths, Make Compound Path. Okay, or you can do Control 8. So what that will do, it will make it so this is just one picture box instead of multiple picture boxes. All right, and I want to rotate this so it's at an angle. I can either go up here, you can see how it turns into a curved line. I can rotate it that way, or you can go up here at the control bar at the top and put in a specific number. I'm going to put in 15. All right, and I want these photo boxes to fit in each panel, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that they fit inside the margins. All right, that looks pretty good. And I want to copy them across all 3 panels. So I can either click on it and I can hold the Option key to make a copy, and then if I hold Shift too, it'll keep it perfectly straight. You can do it that way, or you can just do Control C and Control V, however you prefer. All right, I'm going to center those in each panel. All right, now I'm going to drop the pictures inside. So I'm going to click on the first one and do Control D, which is File, Place. And I'm going to pick out my pictures. I'm going to do the ski picture first. All right, so you can see when it first puts it in, it's filling out, it's making the picture really big. So I'm going to get my direct selection tool and click in there. And if I zoom out, you can see that this picture is gigantic. It's actually going way out here. So I want to fit that inside the boxes. So let me zoom back in and go over here to my Properties panel and click this first box, Fill Frame Proportionally. All right, so now you can see it fits in there. I'm going to go ahead and hold my Shift key and drag this corner though and just make it a little bit bigger. I don't need it to fit as small as it was, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bigger. Move it with my arrow keys. All right, I like the way that looks. And then same for these over here. So I'm going to get my selection tool, click on this compound path of squares, do Control D, and then I'm going to pick my next picture. And then I'm going to get my direct selection tool and click on frame fitting. And then once again, I'm going to hold the Shift key and drag the corner, go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Doesn't need to be quite as small. I don't want her face to get chopped off, so make sure you position your photo so that it's in a good spot. All right, so that looks good right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, get my selection tool, click on that compound path group that I have, do Control D, and pick the next picture, click on frame fitting, and then once again hold my Shift key and make, whoops, I actually need to click on my direct selection tool to get the picture, not the frames, Because if I use this tool here to click on it, that gets my frames, but the direct selection tool will actually get me my photo. You can see the red box goes around it. That means it's the photo that's selected. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bigger. That looks good like that. All right, now that we have these picture boxes put in, I'm going to put in a background picture, kind of like using the same photo that we have here on the front of the brochure. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a photo box that goes from the bleed edge to halfway through the middle of the middle panel, and I'll put it about this far down from the bottom. And we'll do Control D, and I'm going to pick that gray mountain picture again and go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, because I want it to be behind those other photos. And I think I'm going to zoom out and make this a little bit bigger. I'm zooming out so I can see the whole image, the area that is available in the photo. So probably something like that. Maybe make this a little bit bigger. All right, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to do Control Plus to come back in. Now I want the same thing to be repeated on the other side. So I'm going to take this one here and do Control C, copy, Control V, paste. And I want to flip it around like a mirror image. So if you go up here in your toolbar, see where my mouse is right there, flip horizontal. So you click on that. It's possible that if you do that, it might move off the page. So just check over there. If you don't see it, it might be off to the side of your page. And also make sure that you have it on the view where you can actually see everything that's off your canvas. Because if I press W, like it might come on over there and you might not notice it. So press W so you can see the preview mode. And then I'm going to place that right in there where the bleed line is. And then just go ahead and open it up a little bit more. And go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. All right, so now we have a nice background that goes across the whole thing. Looks pretty good. And I want to put some text at an angle up here. So I'm going to get my text tool. And the first word I'm going to type is all caps, ski. And I want it to be the same font that I have on the front cover, this one here. So I'm going to choose that font. And then I'm going to make it a lot bigger. Somewhere along that size there. Might end up making it a tad small, just a tad smaller. Select it. That should work. All right, and I want to rotate the text so that it's lined up with the top of these squares here. So if you want to know the exact number, you can click on this and see, remember I put in 15 there. So click on the text and you can also put 15 degrees up there. And that will make it the same angle that you had on your squares. Line it up with the top of that photo, and I'm going to make this text white. All right, and then I'm going to put that text on these two photos too. So I'm going to take this and copy, paste, another copy. I'll type kayak. I want that text to be red on this one. And then paste another copy over here. And type the word climb, and I'm going to make that text black. All right, so you can see this is a more creative photo arrangement than if you were to just put one square with the photo on it. It looks a lot more interesting. All right, now I want this photo that's in the background, these two pictures, to fade to white. So what you can do is get a rectangle and make sure you draw it out. Let me press W. Make sure you draw it out here at the bleed line and go across here about that big to make it fade. All right, and you're going to fill it with white. And then to make it fade, you go over here. There's two gradient tools. You have the gradient swatch tool and the gradient feather tool. The gradient feather tool makes a color blend to transparency. So I'm going to click on that. And then you can just drag a line how you want it to fade. So if I wanted it to fade this way, you could do that. This way like this. But I want it to fade up. So I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to hold the shift key to keep my line perfectly straight, because if I'm at an angle it does that. So start from the bottom and hold the shift key and go up. Alright, so now it makes everything fade. Let me go to W so you can see how the photo just kind of fades instead of has a hard line there. So now I want to put a couple of red squares on top of these squares just to give it a little extra design appeal. So I'm going to get my shape tool and draw these squares. Let's make it red. And I want it to be transparent like we did on the cover. So I'm going to go to Object, Effects, Transparency. So it's a little bit different than Photoshop. You have to actually go to this window here, and then basic blending, we're going to put it on multiply. So in Photoshop you can do it in your layers, but here in InDesign you go to Object, Effects, Transparency, and then click on the basic blending, and then it gives you the same options like Photoshop Layers has. I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to rotate this 15 degrees like all the other boxes and the text are. Alright, and then I'm going to copy it and paste it. So I copied it, and I can go step and repeat. I can do that, and I can say create 2 different copies of it, and I don't know how far apart I need to put it, but let's just say that. There you go. It actually put it in exactly the right place. So that was edit, step and repeat. So I copied it and then did that, and it pasted 2 copies in the exact same spot. Okay, so now I want to put a little red line that kind of divides my photo area from the text that I'm about to drop in. So I'm going to go from bleed edge to bleed edge, because this red line is going to go all the way off the edge, and I'm going to make it red. And now we are going to put a little more text in here. So I'm going to put the name of states here where these vacation packages are. So the first one I'm going to put is Colorado. And I want to use the same font that I did, the big bold font. And let me make it a little bit bigger. We'll make it 15 points. And I want to rotate it. So I have the text selected with the text selection tool, but I want to go up to the actual photo box and rotate that. We want to rotate it to go along this way, so I'm just going to eyeball it. So drag the text up near where we want to line it up with, and if you go to the edge, you can see it gives me that little rotate button, or that little corner thing. Let me zoom in. So you can go like this and rotate it so it is parallel to that bottom photo there. And then you need to make your text box a little smaller so it's not sticking out. And I want this text to be white. And move it away a little bit. Alright, that looks good. And I'm going to do Control C, and I'm going to do that step and repeat thing again. So it already calculated the distance it needs to go for the other 2 copies, which I appreciate that. And then it's telling me I can do 2 copies of it, and then you can see it put it in the same place on all those panels. And then we're going to change this to Tennessee, and then I want that word to be red, and I want this word to be black so that it sets them all apart. I'll change that to Nevada. All right, let's press W and see how that's looking. All right, it's looking good. So below here, I'm going to show you how to make some temporary placeholder text, and then we'll be done. So to do the text boxes down here, we're going to learn about something called placeholder text, which basically means fake text. So a lot of times designers, you're making a brochure for your client, but they don't have all the copy written. But you can go ahead and design a brochure and put placeholder text in so that when you actually get the real copy in, you can just paste it in the boxes. So we're going to get the text tool and draw a photo box about that big, and go to Type, Fill with Placeholder Text. All right, so it just puts a bunch of garbage text in there that can be changed later. But we want to go ahead and make it to the font that we were using, not the big bold font, but like the smaller font that you used for your website. Make it like a non-serif font. I'm going to pick Gotham again. And you can make it 8 points. That's a good size for this text here. And then we are going to press W so we can see all of our guides and everything. You don't want to put your text right there. That really doesn't look good. It needs some breathing room. So we're going to make 2 columns of text, and we're going to put it somewhere around there. So you want to like kind of make your double the space that you have of your margins. And notice on the bottom too, it's not going all the way down to the bottom. And we are going to make, you can see if I enlarge this little red box with the plus, that means that there's text in the text box that's being cut off. And I want to use it to put in this column here. So I'm going to click on that box. And notice how when I do, it shows me that there's a bunch of text ready to be copied in. So I'm going to draw another text box that's the same size and put it right next to it. All right, so there's still more in there, but in this case, we're not going to worry about that just yet. And what I want you to do is go in this first text box and type with all capitals, ski packages, and then press return. And make that bolder. Whoops, Gotham, bold. You don't have to use the same font. You can use something like Arial if that's what you have in your computer. That's very similar. And then let's see, I don't like the way, let me press W so you can actually, whoops, let me unselect everything and press W. I don't like the way this text box, the text is higher on that side. So what you want to do is pull it down so that your text box has your text lined up across both sides. And let's pull this one up here, even if it's just fake text for now. And then delete all the text in there so that you don't have that red warning happening telling you that your text box still has more in it. So you see that red box is now gone. So that means all the text is fitting in. Otherwise, it's going to give you a warning when you go to export a PDF of it. All right, that looks fine. And let me go ahead and make those, yeah, that's fine. That's good like that. And now we want to copy those 2 text boxes over on the other panels, just like that, except we'll change the ski packages. So I'm going to shift click on both of those. I'm going to go to Edit. Step and repeat again. I want 2 copies of it, and here's the horizontal number I want them to be pasted in at. And then I'm going to go to, whoops, just change this to kayak and change this to climb. All right, so there you go. Now we have a brochure design, and it looks nice. It's not just a regular boring brochure with just pictures in one simple square. It has some design flair to it. So you learned some new tricks. You learned how to make the transparency effects. You learned about placeholder text. You learned how to fade a photo. You learned how to make a compound path to put a photo in a group of picture boxes. You learned how to rotate text. So that's a lot of tricks in one assignment for you. And when you're done, just save it and save a JPEG for your portfolio or export a JPEG for your portfolio. If you were actually sending this to a printer, you would say export and you would make a PDF. And in another assignment, I'll show you how to set up PDFs for print. But for now, just save it as a JPEG, each one of those, and put that in your portfolio.